Hi there, this is Bill Houston. I just wanted to bring you a quick update on Spectra Energy and the AIM pipeline. This is a very serious, it's a black snake situation on the East Coast. It's really great that Standing Rock is getting all the attention that it's getting. I'm thrilled. I love it. It's wonderful. We need some help on the East Coast. You don't need to travel all the way to North Dakota if you want to get involved. We have a very serious situation here, which I'm going to try to lay out for you. So this is the Northeast United States. It also might be considered Southeast Canada, Ontario, Quebec, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia. This is the Marcellus Shale. At least this is the part that's presently being exploited. There is a part of the Marcellus that extends into New York, but New York has a ban on fracking. We didn't want that stuff coming into New York. This is the network of natural gas transmission lines. Some of these lines are very old. They date back to the 1940s, maybe older. This is the part of the system that's owned by Spectra Energy. There are several storage fields in this area, including Stegman Ridge, Oakford Storage, and Leady. These are the sites that are presently under consideration or under active development for LNG export. This is North American export. This is leaving the area. Kiss your sweet gas goodbye. This is what they say is our transition fuel to the new system, the renewable system. And what are we doing with it? We are shipping it overseas so that somebody can make a buck. That's what it's about, a short-term dollar. Billions of dollars of infrastructure. There's no need other than greed. The one in Cove Point, Maryland, is at a pretty advanced stage of development, and there are several in the New Brunswick, Nova Scotia area, one in Maine that's in that same vicinity. There's one in Quebec City along the St. Lawrence River, a couple of potential sites in Massachusetts that are also being talked about. So this is LNG. Keep in mind that this whole Spectra system is being expanded. They expanded the TETCO line through Pennsylvania a couple of years ago, and now they're expanding all the way up into the Maritimes and Northeast section, which goes through Maine and into Canada. So you have to keep in mind that this is all a single system. This whole pipeline network is a single system. And if you look at the pieces of this, it's pretty clear that they want to get the gas from the Marcellus production areas up to Canada and to the coast for export. But they break it up into a bunch of little pieces so that you can't easily see this. This is called project segmentation, and it is illegal under federal environmental law. The courts have instructed FERC to stop segmenting projects illegally, but the operators keep doing it in your face, and FERC keeps allowing it with no penalty. So there's two features on here that I want to talk about now. One is Salem, and the other is Indian Point. So Salem, PA, you probably remember that there was just a very large explosion that happened in April of 2016. That severely injured one man, destroyed his home, and damaged several other homes and businesses. I consider it to be one of the worst pipeline disasters in U.S. history in terms of the impact radius. And that was a 30-inch pipeline built in the 1980s. That's not long ago, right? So like 30 years old. It's just 30 years old. Newer pipelines are failing at an even greater rate. Unbelievable. This is like bucking the expected curve. You would expect older things to fail at a greater rate. But that's not what we see in the pipeline, the people that record these numbers, which is PIMSA. And now here we have Indian Point.
We got a thing up on the Hudson. You know what I'm talking about, Indian Point?
Yes, sure.
Indian Point, I always thought it was a casino.
Indian Point, been called one of the most unsafe nuclear power plants anywhere in the United States, possibly the world. It's about 45 years old, and it was only designed to operate for 40 years, so it's past its end of life. It's got a lot of structural problems with it. And there's problems that happen all the time, like transformer explosions and emergency shutdowns and oil leaks and tritium leaks. These are radioactive materials leaking into the Hudson. It's a nightmare. And then along comes this AIM pipeline, this Spectra Algonquin AIM pipeline. It's really insanity to be putting a 42-inch high-pressure gas pipeline so close to an aging nuclear power plant. This is a disaster that's just waiting to happen. Now, what a lot of people don't know is that there is an existing pipeline there now that runs through the Indian Point facility. Indian Point was built on top of a pair of natural gas pipelines. One was built in the 1950s and the other was built in the 1960s. And here's a guy that was protesting back then. So we just have to be really careful about Spectra Energy. We got to watch them closely because they are a shady operator. There's been no independent risk assessment of this situation. The evidence that I've seen, there is a significant risk of an extreme catastrophe happening at this facility. The worst case scenario would be something like this, that something went wrong with this pipeline and something goes wrong at the reactor where there's a loss of power, a loss of cooling, and the reactor core melts down. There would be a massive release of radiation, or another possible scenario is that somehow there was a fire where the spent fuel is stored. That could also release a massive amount of radiation. So this is an extremely dangerous situation. We have an operator, Spectra Energy, with a really lousy safety record. We have an aging nuclear power plant and a brand new high-pressure 42-inch natural gas pipeline within 105 feet of critical structures. Gee, what could go wrong with that plan? There are 20 million people that live within the 50-mile evacuation zone. This is one of the most densely populated parts of the United States. This is a global world center of banking and trade. New York City. If there was a meltdown, New York City would become uninhabitable. What would that be like? Can you imagine that? What would it be like if the whole New York City metropolitan area, including North Jersey and parts of Connecticut, becoming uninhabitable for 1,000 years?
So take it down. That's all I can say is, are you kidding me? Take the damn thing down. Take it down.